Hello, thank you for joining me. Today I would like to talk about pickups. Um, this is one of my favorite videos to make, I feel like, because I can just talk about new games that I got. And my price point target for these is about 20 bucks each, right? And that's not to say that I'm saying that you guys shouldn't buy full price games, or that I don't want you to support, the people that develop and publish these games by buying them, new and full price, because I do. It's really just that I'm just catching up on these games as like they're basically becoming available on a secondary market, right? So that's what I'm doing here. I did go over my whole PlayStation 4 collection in my last video, so if you want to check that out, please do so. I did mention in my last video these couple of pickups here, so I throw them on the floor. One of these games that I got is Space Hulk Tactics. Not only did I get this recently, but I've been playing this recently. You guys know that one of my buddies and I play some Warhammer. I personally, I guess, tend to like the board game style Warhammer games, and we used to play Space Hulk all the time back in like the early 90s, really. So, like, we even had like expansions and stuff like that. It was like we had Space Hulk, we had Deathwing, we had Gene Stealer. We had a lot of fun with it. So we've been wanting to play this online, and we did. We played the past couple weekends. We'll probably play again this weekend, tomorrow, specifically. And yeah, it's great. This is super cool. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this to just anyone. If you're familiar with any of Games Workshop's tabletop games, I think that you will enjoy this, right? If you aren't, I wouldn't say don't play this game, but it is, it's based on a board game, right? So some of the rules are going to seem a little bit not super video gamey, right? What I think that this developer has done, though, is done a really great job of adapting a board game into a video game form where it feels like it's the board game with just some video game flourishes, instead of feeling like a video game that's just sort of held back by tabletop game rules, right? You may feel a little bit of that frustration, though, if you're approaching this like it's just a video game, right? And you don't have any context or any experience with the kinds of board games this is based on. That said, it is fairly streamlined. They did add a card mechanic to the game, which isn't actually, from what I hear, in the even in the latest edition of Space Hulk. I think this is based on the latest edition of Space Hulk rules, though. And the card mechanic, I think, is great. It's fine. It reminds me very much of the card mechanics in Deathwatch Overkill, which is another tabletop game that my buddy and I play because it's similar to Space Hulk. It's also Space Marines versus Gene Stealers, right? But it's its own system. Anyway, I've played the whole Gene Stealer campaign in this. I've played like maybe most of the Space Marines campaign. And yeah, and like I said, my buddy and I are playing it online. It's great. I've been having a lot of fun with that. Next up, I have Zonkey Zero. Now, this is a dungeon crawling RPG. I also just mentioned this in my last video. Developed seemingly by Spike Chunsoft, by the back of the box. And I don't know a ton about this. It I guess was released on the Vita. I don't know if it was localized on the Vita. It may have only been localized here in English at the very least on the PlayStation 4, but you guys could check that out. I know that Oricon in his latest video had this in Japanese for the Vita. I would definitely recommend that you guys check out his latest video, his last two. I mean, check out all his videos, but he talked about his PlayStation Vita collection in his last video, and I think he talked about his PS4 collection in the video before that. He's not always very thorough when he's talking about his game collections, but it's so much fun to see all the things that he has. He has so many Japanese games, and his Vita collection is enormous. I forget if I even commented on his last video. I meant to, though. Anyway, so you're like, I don't know, 8 people, kind of like the last survivors of humanity, trapped on this island, and like you're kind of solving this mystery and It sounds super interesting. It sounds kind of dark and apocalyptic, right? But it sounds very cool. I got those two together. Then I picked up these three when I went to a GameStop specifically. Judgment. This is by the same developers that did the Yakuza series, I believe. It seems like it's kind of a spiritual successor to Yakuza, published by Sega. I think this was called Judgment Eyes in Japanese. And yeah, it's just like the new game by the Yakuza developers. And, it seems really cool. I was thinking he might be a detective or something, but I guess he's an attorney. Obviously there's, mystery and crime and drama and stuff, and I'm sure it's great. Death Stranding. Hideo Kojima's, started his own studio. This is kind of the first game that he's made outside of Konami completely. It seems a little dark, right? A little dark and weird and maybe creepy and stressful, right? And I'm trying to avoid that kind of stuff. But one of my buddies played this, and it sounds like also kind of like an epic fetch quest, right? It's kind of like how the gameplay goes. But he said it's really engaging, like the gameplay mechanics, and it's kind of relaxing, like traversing these big environments, things like that, making deliveries and such. And it sounds like you can basically avoid, if you want to, like most of the combat, and I'm sure you're going to play through the story and things like that, but I feel like I at least am at a point where I can give this a try, right? And I'm looking forward to seeing what it has to offer. So I went ahead and grabbed that. Next, Tokyo Xanadu. I feel like this was actually localized here for the Vita. I know that it has a Vita release, and I had intended to pick this up for the Vita, but I saw it for the PlayStation 4. It was in my target price range, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and grab this. It's by Falcom, Nihon Falcom, and I think I mentioned before, I haven't played any of their games, basically, right? Well, I just can't take that back. I played Popful Mail on the Sega CD way back in the day. But apparently, I guess the Xanadu series I was reading is really comes from the Dragon Slayer series. So I think it's Dragon Slayer 2 was subtitled Dragon Slayer 2 Xanadu, right? But I think Dragon Slayer 2 in particular, even though the Dragon Slayer series continued on, kind of spun off into some Xanadu games. I don't know that this has any particular strong connection to those previous games, right? I think what was attractive about this to me is that it's not one of the Trails series games or Legend of Heroes. If Trails is part of the Legend of Heroes game series, I kind of forget. It's not Ys, which is its own huge thing. I feel like it's sort of, maybe a spiritual successor to some of their really older games, and it just seems like an action RPG set in Tokyo. So I was like, let me check that out. Right, I've been wanting to get this, so I grabbed it. These games, this next stack of games, all the PlayStation 4 games, I just got today. All right, so I went a little crazy, but it's Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day is not for another couple days, but I was on my way back from being out. And, we're in the middle of a pandemic, too, which is another reason why, game hunting is not, it's not especially, hasn't been practical, at least in sort of, in person for quite a while. And, I'm still not fully vaccinated, but I have my second shot in, a week or something, and I felt safe enough to just wear a mask and go into a store on my way back from where I was. They're having a sale, right? Buy two, get one free. Usually they do their buy two get one frees on anything pre-owned, I think. But this time it was just pre-owned $20 and under. So that was okay because that's actually kind of the price point that I'm going for anyway. So I was like, fine, let's see what they have, man. I got a stack, so let's take a look. When you average it out, they're like 12, 13 bucks each. I got Dragon Quest 11. Echoes of an Elusive Age. My buddy is a bigger Dragon Quest fan than I am. I played the first game on the NES way back when, and that's about it. I did play, I think you saw in my last video, Dragon Quest Heroes, which is like the kind of a Musou, like Warriors style Dragon Quest game, but it does have some different elements to it. It's good actually. I really liked Dragon Quest Heroes quite a lot. But anyway, like it's Dragon Quest, and I'm like, that seems cool. Like a big, especially this. It's like a big epic 3D RPG, and I am familiar with some of like the Dragon Quest tropes and things like that. Especially from like I've watched one of my buddies play some of the Dragon Quest games, right? So, gosh, for buy two get one free, $20 or less. I got this. Got a little excited about this. I'd like to check that out. Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom. Now, I was really excited about Ni no Kuni when it first came out. Unfortunately, I just didn't get into it, right? Not that I think I bounced off of it that badly, but I did play it for a couple hours and then just didn't come back to it. I think it's more getting distracted than anything. I liked what I saw. I liked the Ghibli-esque style. I liked the combat system, what I saw. The gameplay was pretty fun and exploring and things like that. It looked cool. So anyway, I did just see a video recently by Pete Dorr where he was talking about his PlayStation 4 collection. And I think he mentioned that he was pretty disappointed with where the direction this took versus the first game. I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. I wasn't going to let that get in the way of me picking this game up. But again, like, these were buy two get one free. And I was like, yeah, I wanna check out more Ni no Kuni, right? I want to finish the first one. They did remake it for PS4, and maybe I should get it for PS4, but I still have my PlayStation 3 hooked up. I still have my PS3 copy. There's really no reason I can't play more of that on the PS3 if I'd like, so I might do that. I picked up Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. By and large, what I've seen is positive things for this. I think it was having some technical difficulties maybe when it first came out. I'm pretty sure all that stuff is patched up now. And it seems like the general consensus is that this is pretty great. It's kind of a spiritual successor to Symphony of the Night. And I'm not a huge Castlevania fan, but Symphony of the Night in particular I played back in the day. I still have a copy of it, maybe a copy of it that I reacquired for the original PlayStation. And yeah, I was like, I forget what the guy is, Igarashi, something like that, doing a spiritual successor. This was kickstarted successfully, and it seems like a cool game. So I had just missed out on this, so I grabbed a copy of that. Next up, we have Punchline. Now, I feel as though I watched maybe the first episode or two of this anime. I think it was on Crunchyroll, and I seem to remember being completely unimpressed with it, right? So when I saw this game, I was kind of like, oh, it's like, I think that's a game based on that anime that I didn't really care for. But, I don't know, it kind of got me. I read the back here, it says, from the creator of Zero Escape Trilogy, and I was like, really? Comes a new supernatural adventure, haunt a household as a ghost, solving mysteries and puzzles. If you see panties, you'll destroy humanity. Okay. I had to read online. I think that was the premise of the anime. I just felt intrigued, right? I'm like, okay, this is a completely goofy premise. I'm on board. Like, or I'm intrigued at least, right? I'll play this. So I'll play it. I'll check it out. I'm curious about that. Next up, we have Indivisible. This is something that I thought looked super cool when it was first announced. I think this was a Kickstarter thing also. I did not back it, and maybe I'm wrong about it being Kickstarter. I don't know, but I feel like it was, and I think it was kind of in Kickstarter for a while. Might have had a little trouble getting funded, or I don't even remember. At any rate, I believe it got funded. It is here. And it looked like a super cool game. It seems like kind of, what does they say, RPG action and platforming collide. Visually, this looks amazing. Like it looks like it has really cool 2D animation for the sprites and backgrounds and stuff. And yeah, and it seems like it's like RPG-ish. It looks great. This is something else that like I'm catching up on. Yeah, so I picked it up. especially because it was cheap. So this one in particular, I would say was a little bit more of an impulse buy, right? But I saw it on the shelf and I did a little research on it. Battle Chasers Night War. Battle Explore Craft Survive is what this says on the back. A classic turn-based JRPG combat, right? Beautiful, randomly generated dungeons, 6 different heroes, each with their own skills, deep and unique crafting system. Visually, it looks really cool, and it sounds like it might actually be based on a comic book. And again, and like, no offense to the people that developed, this game or anything either. I didn't. This isn't something that I'd heard of before, right? I wasn't like looking out for like, I want to get Battle Chasers Night War. So for me, it was more of just like a cheap impulse, taking a chance. So we'll see. I'm interested to check it out. Another one that I did the same thing on, although this actually was funny. This was a couple bucks more than $20. So I wasn't able to get it as part of the deal. But when I saw it on the shelf, it seemed so interesting. I wanted to get it. The setting is like vampires and werewolves and things like that. But it seems like it's kind of, they say right here, an engaging mishmash of genres, where you're basically have like an empire building gameplay mixed with like kind of tactical, maybe RPG sort of gameplay, or just sort of like tactical strategy gameplay. And I'm like, well, that's intriguing, right? And Calypso, it seems like they publish some interesting things. I'm pretty sure this is available on PC, and I don't know if like they kind of strictly do PC ports to console and things like that, but at any rate, it's what I read about this was intriguing enough that I was like, I really want to check that out. And maybe specifically too, like, not even just for, Immortal Realms, Vampire Wars, but like, any of this stuff, like, Kuni, Judgment, Death Stranding, Tokyo Xanadu, Dragon Quest. Like, if you guys have played these games, just mention that in the comments. If you liked them, didn't like them, think it was a good pickup, or not, I'd be super curious to hear. The last couple games here are for the PlayStation Vita. They're both in the same series, and I actually don't have one yet. It's arriving in a couple days, but I have all this other stuff, so I wanted to talk about this now. But I was talking about fear of missing out in my last video, and I realized, the PlayStation Vita also is maybe an opportunity to get some things here before they go completely crazy. What would I absolutely regret having missed out on? And I realized Muv-Luv. Muv-Luv was released, in English, and I was like, man, I should get that. From what I've heard, this is a really interesting, really good kind of romantic adventure game, right? This was originally an Edo-Gay, but it's supposed to be, it's kind of like right? Where it's like, what part of hell froze over that we're getting some of these well-regarded, interesting Edo-Gay, like, ported to modern, like, consoles, like the PlayStation 4 and the Vita, and then localized in English. Like, it's crazy. I would kick myself, I realized, if, I let the chance go by to pick this up at, 40, 50, 60 bucks even. It's brand new, and, I think I'll really enjoy checking those out. I also have a couple little things here. I grabbed this duster, okay? This is an air duster. I realized that my PlayStation 4, when I play games, is running like a jet engine, right? And one of my buddies was like, hey, look up a video on YouTube about cleaning your PlayStation 4. And I was like, I'm going to do that. Because I've sprayed it out with, compressed air and things like that. Cleaned all the outside and everything, but it still seems like it's running hot. And I looked up that video. I found a really good one that has you really disassemble it down, take the motherboard out, replace the thermal paste, that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, the PlayStation 4 now is, 6, 7, 8 years old? I don't think it's 8 years old, maybe, but 6 or 7 years old. And I'm like, no wonder, it's It's dusty. No wonder. I mean, that thermal paste might be just kind of getting a little old and crusty too, you know. So I actually did pick up some fresh thermal paste, and instead of getting like a can of compressed air, I'm like, let me buy this thing. It was like 40-50 bucks. I think it was 50 bucks, and hey, you know, it plugs in. I've got all the air compression spraying that I want, and I might do a video, I might not, but I'm gonna get my PlayStation 4 cleaned out probably this weekend. Thanks for joining me for that, and hope you'll join me again. Take care.